Hey guys, welcome to another commentary Speedpaint. For this Speedpaint, I'll more or less be doing a redraw of, well, a redraw. I had originally made this drawing 5 years ago back in 2017, and then 3 years later in 2020, I redrew it again to see how much I had improved since then. And now, 2 years later in 2022, I will once again be redrawing it to see how much I've improved. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Alright, so, as I said before, I made the first iteration of this piece back in 2017. I had wanted to try drawing something in black and white, and I had really wanted to try out drawing green with a new technique I had learned at the time. Basically, I drew straight vertical lines on my canvas and then used the motion blur that Photoshop has to create the effects of rain. But while I was brainstorming ideas of what I wanted to do, I decided I'd draw a piece with all three of my main OCs at the time. Those characters being my main Sonic OC, Julia the Fox, my main Steven Universe OC, Onyx, and my main Ninja Turtle OC at the time, Jay. The original piece is really bland and empty and not comped well. I mean, all three characters are just against a bland, solid backgrounds, and for some reason I separated them by putting them in this really awfully looking box. It's just, everything about the first piece is just old and doesn't really look that good. So back in 2020, just 3 years after I made the original, I was going through some of my old artwork and came across the original. At the time, I had just switched over to using Clip Studio Paint as my main drawing program instead of Paint Tool Sci, which is what I had used to draw the original. So I was still new to using the program, and I decided, why not redraw something in the new program? And I chose this one. As you can see, I had improved a lot in just 3 years, and the redraw looks so much better. Instead of putting my characters in a box with bland backgrounds with only a few gradients, I restructured it a bit and simply divided each character and didn't put them in a box. And of course, I actually drew some scenery for their backgrounds instead. For Julia, I had decided to place her in a forest since her character absolutely loves the forest. And she also lives in the forest. At least this version of her does. I had actually given Julia a bit of a reboot a few months back, and I'm still currently working on that. I actually plan to talk about it in another one of these commentary speed paints in the future, so keep an eye out for that. For Onyx, I placed her on the beach, because, of course, Steven and the Gems live on the beach, so. And with the Ninja Turtle one, I had decided to replace Jay with my current Ninja Turtle character, Cam, since I don't really use Jay anymore. And of course, I placed Cam on a rooftop, overlooking a few buildings. Now, while this redraw looks much better than the original, it still could use a lot of improvement. The forest I drew isn't really that great, it's still pretty bland honestly. I really only vaguely painted in the tree trunks and then just used a simple leaf brush to do the leaves on the trees and the bushes. But the grass has like no detail to it and there's literally nothing behind the trees, so I can't really even call it a forest. The beach I put Onyx in doesn't look too bad, but it could have definitely used more details, especially the sky, which could have used more clouds. And the city Can's in, yeah, I don't like it. It's really bad. I've always struggled with drawing buildings. Those are a huge weakness of mine, and you can just barely tell that she's on a rooftop. It's just, really bad. It needed a lot of work. But other than that, the redraw definitely isn't too bad. But now, the second redraw. Holy hell, this looks so much better. I put a lot more detail in the backgrounds for this one, and I really like how they look. For the forest, it actually looks a lot more like a forest. I put in more trees, I put in more detail into the grass and foliage, and for the leaves on the trees and the bushes, I actually used one of my favorite foliage brushes for them. I don't remember what the brush is called since it came in like a pack of 5 other brushes, but I do really love how the brush works and I love the look it gives. As for Julia herself, I had made some slight adjustments to her design not long before I started working on this. I mostly made her hair a bit fluffier / poofier and made some minor tweaks to her outfit. Mostly just her shirt covering her shorts now, as well as her now wearing fingerless gloves underneath her sleeves. Onyx's background also looks much better, since I put more detail into the ocean and sky, as well as a little bit of subtle texture to the sand. Onyx herself didn't really have any design changes other than me giving her a choker. I'm not sure if that'll be a small new addition to her design or if it was an addition just for this piece, but I guess we'll see. Cam's background in the city also looks a lot better. I still had a lot of trouble with figuring it out, but in the end I don't think it looks too bad. Next time I should probably add a lot more detail to the buildings, or even give Clip Studio's 3D assets a try, since their asset library store has a lot of buildings and cityscapes. Cam was a little tricky to draw in this since it had been a while since I had drawn her, and since my style had changed, the way I used to draw her was just a little bit off. Mostly with her hair, that took a little bit to figure out. I was actually able to use one of Clip Studio's asset brushes to draw her braid instead of spending who knows how long to try and get a somewhat passable braid for her. So I am unbelievably grateful for Clip Studio's asset brushes. They have saved me so much time and so many things, and I absolutely love them. But other than Cam being a little tricky to draw, I actually didn't really change her design for this piece. I did, however, change her design a little bit a couple weeks ago, long after I had finished this, so oh well. For the overall coloring and shading for this piece, I colored everyone with their usual colors and then I put a black color filter on top of them. For shading, I used this really nice brush that I love to use called the Watery brush. It's a brush that comes with Clip upon getting it, and I really like the look and texture it gives for shading and painting. I also used it for some extra highlights. And all that was left to do was add in a couple extra gradients to each section for some extra lighting, and then add in some rain and tears. The rain looks a lot better than both the first and second iterations of this piece. I had used the rain tool that comes in the line tool section of Clip, which has an assortment of line and shape tools to choose from, as well as a subtool category for action lines, which is where the rain tool is. The tears actually don't look too bad, since I had tried a slightly different way of rendering them than I usually do. And the final touches are just the water dripping from the characters, and done! There's the second redraw of this piece. And that's it! I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I had such a great time finally getting to make this video, and I can't wait to do so many more like this. I have so many planned. If you want to see the piece by itself, it should be over on my Twitter and Tumblr now, which are linked in the description. So thank you guys so much for joining in, and I hope you all have a wonderful day. See you later.